Don't forget to like, subscribe, and punch that bell for notifications.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to our featured bout of the evening, brought to you by DeBella Entertainment in association with Cristo Steakhouse and the Underground Clown. This bout is sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission, Chairwoman in attendance, Melvina Lathan. Judges ringside, Steve Weisfeld, Julie Letterman, and John Signorelli. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from BB King's here in the crossroads of the world, Times Square, New York City. The fight starts now. This contest is scheduled for 8 rounds in the featherweight division. Your referee for this contest, Steve Smoger. Introducing first, to my left, he is fighting out of the blue corner. He wears red, green, and gold. Official weight, an even 124 pounds. His professional record, 6 wins. He has 4 defeats, 1 draw, and 4 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, originally from Accra, Ghana, and now fighting out of Baltimore, Maryland, please welcome Lante Addy. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner. He wears black and gold. Official weight, 125 1/2 pounds. He has a perfect professional record consisting of 3 wins, all of them coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, originally from Santiago de Cuba, and now fighting out of Miami, Florida, the 2000 and 2004 Olympic gold medalist, would have been 3-time gold medalist, but was banned from the Cuban team for attempting to emigrate and finally succeeded. We are proud to have him here on Broadway Boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux.
Entienden las reglas. You understand the rules? Toquen las manos, touch gloves, suerte.
You see Freddie Roach with Guillermo Rigondeaux, the hottest and certainly one of the best trainers in boxing. And right now, everybody wants to be trained by Freddie Roach. So the fact that Freddie has agreed to train Rigondeaux is quite a testimony to the potential of this Cuban fighter. And normally, Brian, in a fight with a fighter with 3 fights of experience, you wouldn't expect much. With Rigondeaux, we expect everything.
Well, talking to Freddie Roach, I know Freddie real well, so talking to Freddie before the fight, he made a few interesting points to me that I would try to get across in this bout before it's over. Freddie Roach said right now they're very serious about having him fight in the world title in his next bout, which would be his 5th.
Left hand by Rigondeaux, and that next bout may be coming sooner than we anticipated.
I told you I'll try to get it in. I can't promise, but I'll try to get a lot of information in.
And Addy is a durable fighter normally. A 12-round fighter, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, you're talking about Rigondeaux fighting for, in his second fight, I'm sorry, in his 3rd fight, he was scheduled for a 10-rounder. In Addy's 3rd fight, he went 12 rounds.
Well, this high guard that Addy's trying is not going to work against a fighter with the hand speed and punch selection of Rigondeaux. Look at the beautiful right hook to the body there.
He step out and right back in. So again, quickly, Freddie Roach said they're looking to have him fight any champion today at 122 pounds. And he said he believes Rigondeaux is to knock out any current champion.
Specifically, they're looking at Celestino Caballero, who holds 2 world titles at 122. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, Rigondeaux, who's usually a counterpuncher, is making the fight and just picking his shots and pounding that right hook to the body, a right hook lead.
But Freddie said he wanted him to be more aggressive this fight. He said in training, holding the mitts on Rigondeaux, normally he can create openings and slap guys around with mitts. He said he has yet to create an opening and catch Rigondeaux making mistakes holding the mitts, which says a lot.
Addy, usually a very aggressive fighter, especially with the left hook. Right now, he's being outclassed, and those body shots may be taking the aggressiveness right out of him in the first round.
And this is exactly the stage that was set. You know, the only flaw anyone would give Rigondeaux is the fact that he's too passive. He lays back and counterpunch too much. They want him to be more aggressive, and he's doing exactly that.
And you may be wondering why you haven't seen any punches from Addy. Well, the best defense in the world is a good counterpunch. It makes the other guy keep his hands in his pockets, and that's why Addy's not punching. Because when he did punch, he got hit with a left counter left and went down. Almost went down.
And it's smart. He's seeing the opportunity for the straight left to the body. He's taking it. I would like to see him work the jab more. But you can't complain with what he's doing now, though.
End of round one, all Rigondeaux. Round two of our main event, scheduled for 8 junior featherweights here at BB King's in New York City. Guillermo Rigondeaux in the black and gold trunks, and Lante Addy in the multicolored, primarily red or orange trunks.
And Freddie Roach, in between rounds, whispered in Rigondeaux's ear. He said, open them up with feints. Meaning feint, let Addy commit himself, and counterpunch.
He whispered, how'd you hear it?
We're close enough.
All right. See Rigondeaux waiting. That's normally his way. And he's always going to be better and better looking against aggressive guys. Right now, he may have already taken the aggressiveness out of Lante Addy.
Agreed.
And Addy, earlier this year, Addy fought Jorge Diaz, a top prospect from New York, in the Garden. And it was a thrilling fight. Addy went toe-to-toe most of the way. It's a different fighter tonight because of who he's in with.
And you can just see the finesse in Rigondeaux. You can see he's setting up combinations. He's even anticipating what Addy can do and will do.
Right now, Addy's doing nothing. Covering his, protecting his face is all he's doing.
And that's why you see Rigondeaux slowed the pace. He needs Addy to open up. See, Addy right there, I'm sorry, Steve, but Addy right there should be throwing punches, doing something. Aim at Rigondeaux's shoulders. Punch at the shoulders. By standing there covering up, it's not helping you offensively.
I've noticed Rigondeaux's eyes, Brian. He's staring at the chest, not the eyes of his opponent.
If Rigondeaux is moving, see, that's what I mean.
Right hand by Addy there. First punch he's thrown in about 45 seconds and it landed.
And that's what I mean. Opponents like Addy, to me, if I was in Rigondeaux's corner or on his team, I'll be more leery of opponents like Addy than opponents like world champions, because mentally you have to stay focused with a champion. With Addy, it's much, much easier for you to drift mentally.
And for a lot of the Cuban defectors, focus has been a problem. Not so for Rigondeaux, who's taken the freedom that living in the United States has brought and really stayed disciplined. As a matter of fact, he left Miami for Los Angeles to be closer to Freddie Roach, so boxing would be primary in his mind, and all the distractions that the streets of Miami can bring. Round two, much, much better round for Addy, only because he got hit less. Round three scheduled for 8. These are really featherweights, not junior featherweights. Rigondeaux 125 and a half and Addy 124. And right now, Rigondeaux's job is to try to open up Addy. Try to get Addy to punch so Rigondeaux will have something to work off of.
And the thing about the chemistry between Freddie Roach and Rigondeaux is the fact that Rigondeaux, he can frustrate the average trainer because offensively he's so gifted, but he's not really opening up. But Freddie Roach has been in the game long enough. He's seen a lot. He understands temperaments. he know Rigondeaux is only going to do 30-40% on these smaller scales. So he can work off what Rigondeaux brings.
Well, it's also interesting, the contrast, because the fighter that made Freddie Roach the preeminent trainer in boxing is Manny Pacquiao, who was very underdeveloped when he first started with Freddie, and Freddie turned him into the best fighter in the world, but also a drastically different style than Rigondeaux, who's much more of a counterpuncher, much more staid in his approach.
Hey, I love Freddie's mind, but best fighter in the world, Floyd Mayweather.
Hey, I had him number one, Brian. Nobody told him to retire. He lost his title the day he retired. But we can argue we're going to get to see that fight in 2010. And by the way, I like Mayweather in that fight.
Yeah, I think stylistically is a good matchup for him.
But right now, we're not seeing much action from these two because Rigondeaux is
What Freddie Roach
very
said,
sparing with his punches.
yeah, he said boxers and counterpunchers give Rigondeaux trouble because Rigondeaux feels more comfortable with you being aggressive and you trying to knock him out.
But the thing is, Addy is not really a boxer or a counterpuncher. He's usually very aggressive, likes a fast pace, takes a good shot, and loves to throw the left hook. But I think those shots, those body shots in the first round, or that in combination with the fact that Addy took this fight on very short notice and may want to extend the fight a little bit, has changed Addy as a fighter.
All right, so let me throw my trainer's hat on right now. Rigondeaux should double up on the jab. Just spend a good 30 seconds working the jab, getting Addy's rhythm, meaning see how he handles the jab, whether he blocks or he pours against it, then work off of that. If you're Addy, you see Rigondeaux is laying back, trying to wait for you to make a mistake. Pressure him, throw punches.
Well, one thing you've seen from Rigondeaux, usually the weapon of choice against the lefty is the lead right hand. He's done a very good job of getting under Addy's right hand.
Addy threw a right hand?
One or two. You got to look really close. Not that easy to spot. So this is a guy who's used to going the distance. In his last fight, he fought to a draw with Tion Kennedy from Philadelphia, a very good result. But he seems very early in this fight to have taken the fight out of him by Rigondeaux. And as you talk about the marketing of Rigondeaux, the Cuban, this is going to be the problem. He is a counterpuncher. He's a smart fighter. If his opponent doesn't give him a lot, he's not going to take a lot. He's not going to get a lot. And that's what we're seeing in this fight.
Right, you almost have to put him in every fight against a bull. Then you'll see his true talents. I mean, purist boxers would appreciate what he does because he takes his time. He sets guys up.
Well, he showed a little inventiveness there with a nice four-punch combination, but only the fourth punch landed, and it was to the body.
Only thing, he needs to work the jab more. No stiff jabs, and that's the only flaw I see with him as a patient boxer.
When your opponent is holding his gloves up by his cheeks like that, does it make it more difficult to jab?
It does. It makes it more difficult, but that's why I said Rigondeaux should just jab and get the rhythm. Because if you start jabbing enough, hitting on the forearm, sitting on the glove, your opponent's going to start to react one way or other, whether he try to swap the jab away or just try to tighten up and block. Then you work off of that once you get his rhythm.
Well, Rigondeaux is starting to show a few different moves, different combinations. He's not going to just walk in and be wild. It's not his way. He's too skilled a boxer for that. And Addy's given him very little, if anything, to work off of. He's scheduled for 8. Steve Farhood and Brian Adams here. Our main event at BB King's, Times Square, New York City. And we're looking at one of the great amateur fighters in the history of boxing, Guillermo Rigondeaux, two-time Olympic gold medalist. And if you want more credentials, two-time Pan Am champion, two-time world champion, 7-time Cuban national champion. This guy has incredible resume. And
the funny thing is here, and I want the viewers to pay attention to this. the crowd just started booing. The boos will have effect on Addy and not Rigondeaux.
How's that?
Because Rigondeaux's experience. He's a boxer. That's his nature. He don't care about who boos him. Over 475 wins as an amateur. Addy is the one that's going to try to be impressive and show people, you know what, I can fight, I can win. So the boos would affect Addy more.
End of round 4. All right, we begin round 5 of a scheduled 8. Guillermo Rigondeaux, let me get it right, in the black and gold trunks, and Lante Addy in the colors of his native Ghana, green, yellow, and red. Brian, after 4, your score?
Well, having 4 rounds to nothing for Rigondeaux, have it 40-35 because he scored the knockdown in the first round. But each round, aside from the knockdown, has been nondescript.
You think he's a little bored in there?
I wouldn't use the word bored. I use the word trying to concentrate and focus too much. That's what I would use. And sometimes that can be boorish, so to say.
Well, you know Rigondeaux would like to impress. It's his first fight in New York. For the fans here who don't know about his reputation, it's really sterling. I mean, there's nobody in the amateur game with a better reputation than Rigondeaux. Now he's 4th pro fight, 3-0. He scored knockdowns in each of his first 3 fights, which all ended inside the distance. And he'd like to impress here in the Big Apple because you only get one chance to make a first impression, and Lante Addy is not allowing him to make a very strong impression. It's that simple.
And then also what hurts Rigondeaux, I believe, is the fact that his 4th fight, scheduled for 8 rounds. He want to go rounds. So him being patient, trying to go rounds, is perfectly fine and normal for him because he wants to do it.
And this is already the longest fight of Rigondeaux's professional career. Previously, he'd gone 3 twice. Brian, I can't stress, I've seen Lante Addy fight before. I've read about his fights. I've seen him on YouTube. This was a very, very aggressive fighter. And we are not seeing any of that. Now, is it because he's a substitute that came in late, or is it because he's just a little blown away by Rigondeaux's superior skills? I don't know, maybe a little of each.
It may be a combination. You know, sometimes fighters get in their heads that a southpaw is going to be difficult. An accomplished southpaw will be more difficult. An undefeated accomplished southpaw is nearly impossible. So let me just lay back and wait for him to make a mistake as opposed to going and taking it. And I think that may be the effect on Addy right now.
Well, we talk about Addy taking this fight on short notice. If he's saving energy by not punching, the 8 rounds won't be a problem. He could go 80 at this pace. We've gone 5 of a scheduled 8 here at BB King's. Guillermo Rigondeaux and Lante Addy. Round 6 of a scheduled 8. Featherweights, Guillermo Rigondeaux, the superstar Cuban amateur, and Lante Addy from Ghana, substitute who took this fight on a couple of days' notice. Rigondeaux's done what he wanted, Brian. He's winning the rounds. He's not being allowed to look spectacular. It's not his way to just attack against a very careful Lante Addy.
But let me switch gears here. You know, I said earlier, this is Rigondeaux's fight. This is the matchup he wants. He wants to box. He just wants to win. But it comes a time for every and any established amateur in the professional game where they want to be impressive. They really want to show something. 6th round. Now it's the time for Rigondeaux to say to himself, all right, let me get this guy out of here. You have to start thinking a guy's not in your league after a certain amount of rounds.
Then how's he going to get rid of him? Walking in more? Throwing more shots?
Yeah, throwing combinations. You saw in the replay of the last round. He threw combinations. Addy is going to cover up. You have the superior hand speed. He just cracked Rigondeaux with a nice right hand. But right there, make it a fight. Why not make it a fight? You're slicker, you're smarter, you position better on the inside. Make it a fight.
I get the impression Rigondau's attitude is almost like Ted Williams had such a great batting eye that he wouldn't swing at a ball, even if it was 2 inches outside. Well, Rigondau's the same thing. If there's not an opening, he's not going to punch and leave himself vulnerable. Might not be the most exciting style, but it's a perfectionist style, and he's a perfectionist.
But in boxing, sometimes you have to make opportunities.
Especially if you're looking to garner fan interest. And again, Rigondeaux in a couple more fights will be very likely fighting for a world title. More likely at 122, junior featherweight than featherweight, from what we understand from Freddie Roach. But they're going to have to pick an opponent, a champion, to challenge who is aggressive. And I think Freddie Roach knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Freddie realizes that Rigondeaux doesn't throw 100, 150 punches around. He realizes what he has in front of him. He needs to get a matchup where Rigondeaux is going to be favored. I like that left hook. Now watch for Rigondeaux to throw the right hook on top after the left hook to the body.
Lead left uppercut by Rigondeaux. Addy at least inching forward a little bit this round. Still not moving his hands, though.
Addy looks a little like Ben Taki, a skinny Ben Taki.
Also from Ghana. There you go. 6 are in the books. Rigondeaux and Addy. Steve Smoger ready to get it started. Round 7. We're scheduled for 8. Lante Addy 6-4-1 with 4 knockouts. Compare that to the last opponent of Guillermo Rigondeaux. Giovanni Andrade had 62 fights. That's who Rigondeaux fought in his 3rd pro fight. Rigondeaux took him out in 3 rounds. One thing we'll never know, Brian, there are only 3 fighters in boxing history who won gold medals in 3 Olympics. Laszlo Papp of Hungary and 2 Cubans, Teo Stevenson and Felix Savant. It seemed like Rigondeaux was on his way to winning 3, but in 07, he tried to defect unsuccessfully. As a result, he didn't get a chance to fight in the 08 Olympics, where he would have been a heavy favorite to win his 3rd gold medal.
He would have been, in 2000, he actually defeated Clarence Vincent, the U.S. representative who got a bronze medal. And Rigondeaux told you something interesting about the Clarence Vincent matchup.
Yeah, he said that Vincent was one of the 2 best fighters he ever fought as an amateur. Vincent, a little bit of a disappointment as a pro.
So Clarence, my DC homie, if you're listening, Rigondeaux gave you praises.
Now Rigondeaux flashing a jab sort of as a rangefinder.
All right, now what I would like to see here, first from Rigondeaux, I would like to see Rigondeaux stay in the pocket. Stay low, stay in the pocket, work the body, then come on top with combinations. Right there, he started on top and finished at the body. For Addy, I would like to see Addy throw a jab. He has yet to throw a jab, and this is the 7th round. Think if he throw a stiff jab, he's bound to land it. Because Rigondeaux would not be looking for a jab.
Yeah, Addy's a one-trick pony. He's just right hand, right hand, right hand. That's it. And Brian, I'm going to be a little critical of Rigondeaux. There are going to be times, as you've been, there are times in his career where he's going to fight guys like this who don't attack and who make it a little more difficult for him. He has to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, a little more fan-friendly than he is tonight.
Well, Rigondeaux, of course, I can't even compare my amateur credentials next to his. But in amateurs, and even the pros, the knock on me was the fact that guys that shouldn't be in the ring with me gave me problems. And guys I shouldn't beat, I blew out with no problems.
And that's what we're seeing tonight.
Exactly.
Well, maybe the worst thing Rigondeaux did was score that knockdown in round 1 because it took the fight out of Addy. Addy, normally an aggressive fighter, fighting uncharacteristically cautiously. And we're done with 7 rounds here at BB King's. Scheduled for 8, Rigondeaux and Lante Addy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 8th and final round.
All right, we get started in the 8th round here at BB King's. Guillermo Rigondeaux, the celebrated Cuban, against Lante Addy from Ghana, now fighting out of Baltimore. Addy took this fight on short notice. Rigondeaux with a combination there. We haven't seen many. And Rigondeaux's speed is obvious. His punching technique is obvious. His balance is beautiful. But if you came here and you didn't know anything about the guy, you wouldn't be in a rush to see him again, I'll tell you that. And that's not totally his fault, but he could have done a little more to make this a little more exciting.
Well, you touched on something interesting there. If you came here, don't know much about Rigondeaux, right, you wouldn't jump at the next shot and seeing him fight. But if you know a little something about Rigondeaux and you read about him and you came here, you're very disappointed. But you're expecting to see this high-powered machine in front of you.
Well, he was much nice right-left combination by Rigondeaux lands. Be interesting to see if he opens up more because he knows this is the last round. He was much more aggressive and much more effective in his first 3 fights, which all ended via knockout. Different style opponent, of course, in those fights.
And that's what I was saying last round. If you notice, Rigondeaux is now standing in the pocket. Counter-punching, letting combinations go. That's what he should have been doing.
And it's not like, Brian, it's not like when Rigondeaux opens up, he gets countered. He's not getting hit. So there's really not much risk for him to move forward and let his hands go.
And that's what I said around the second round when I said the boredom part. Maybe he's thinking a little too much.
Yeah, waiting for the perfect opening.
Right. Thinking if I throw combinations, the attitude is if I throw combinations, the guy have to throw back. So that's why he throw combinations and stop.
See how focused Rigondeaux is. Maybe dropping his right hand the way he has it now is a sort of a tactic to try to get Lante Addy to open up. It's not working. Addy's done a great job of minimizing the punches he's absorbed because he hasn't let his hands anywhere outside of his cheeks. So he's not given Rigondeaux, who's a counterpuncher, any counterpunching opportunities. High guard from Addy all fight. Now Rigondeaux turning it up, sort of more for show, I think, than anything else.
Well, either he heard us, he heard the crowd, or he heard his corner. You're in New York for the first time. You have to do something.
Well, he won the fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of action here at BB King's, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge John Signorelli scored this contest 79-72, and both Steve Weisfeld and Julie Letterman both saw this contest 80-71, all for your winner by unanimous decision. And still undefeated, Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux.